Hello everyone and welcome to our first AOB of 2025. We can't wait to tell you about everything we've got planned for this year. And yes, that's what we do. We tell you everything. That's what I love about AOB. It's one of those shows, Rob, where we tell people how we actually operate our business, the type of stuff that isn't really shared elsewhere. If you have any interest in business, you're going to absolutely love this show. But if you are purely property, I think you'll like it anyway, because we are a property business, so there's opportunity to learn either way.
But first, let us have a quick recap of last year, which is worth mentioning, Rob. We are very much forward-looking as individuals and as a business, but we should recognise that last year we had our best financial year ever.
We did, and we've been going a long time now, longer than I probably care to admit, but let's just say it's over a decade. So to have our best ever year was a brilliant result. We overhauled a lot in the business, put a lot of new processes in place, really started to build up the team. It looks like a different business a year on in a very good way. And the great thing is, Rob, not only did it result in a great 2024, but it's put us in a really strong place for now, 2025.
Yeah, what we started doing in the second half of last year in particular, and then really building up pace as we got into the last quarter, was thinking ahead to 2025. So rather than just sort of keeping on churning along as we were, sort of hitting our goal, exceeding our goal, great. We're like, right, okay, we know that next year is going to be bigger, so we need to start putting systems in place for that, start hiring for that, be ready for that when it happens. Because, Rob, our goals for 2025 are not small ones. I'm going to read this out and it's going to sound insane, and then you're going to explain why it's not insane. That's the plan anyway. So last year we had our best financial year ever. From that highest ever base, we plan this year to grow revenue by 50% and profit by 100%. So how does that even work? Like, growing that much in the first place, but growing profit by more than revenue? What?
Well, that's the easy part to explain. Because our costs are relatively fixed, the more you sell, the profit increases more and more. So your profit margins increase the more you sell. And once you've gone past the break-even point, it then accelerates. So that means that we can grow the revenue by just 50%, but our profit grows by 100%. Because we don't need to grow our team by 50%, for example, to deliver these numbers. We are growing our team, and more on that later. But our costs don't accelerate at the same pace as our revenue, and therefore our profit outperforms again. Probably is a better way of explaining that, but we have fixed costs. Once we're past it, we make even more money, and our profit margins are really strong, which is great. But even so, Rob, let's rewind. We said grow revenue by 50% and profit by 100%. And as you've highlighted, that's off the back of our best ever year, not a weak year. So I completely understand if a few people have scoffed when they've listened to this. Some may have even spat out their morning coffee, who knows? But hopefully not. Hopefully you're not wearing a white shirt if you have. But we have already said that a lot of what we were doing in 2024 was setting up for 2025. And actually, every quarter we improved last year. And by the fourth quarter, our run rate is very close to the numbers that we want to hit this year. There's not much in it at all. So even if we just perform like we did in Q4 last year, we'll pretty much hit the numbers we want this year. But of course, we want to improve on that. So we're in a really, really strong position. And that means, Rob, we're going to do more property deals than ever before. It actually means that we'll transact on around 120 to 150 million pounds worth of property this year. And the reason in that quite big variance is it's going to depend on what the values of those properties are. But 120 to 150 million pounds worth of property deals going through the business this year. That's big. They're big numbers. But with big numbers comes big experience and more that we can share on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to have to update my podcast intro because I start every episode by saying, like, we buy over 100 million pounds worth of property a year. That's going to go up to 120 at least if we hit our targets. But it's great because every time we do a deal, we learn. Even though we've put together hundreds of separate deals across thousands of separate units over the course of running this business, every deal is a chance to learn. Every new developer relationship is a learning experience. Every area that we research for a deal is something that we can bring back to the podcast and the YouTube channel and everything else. And we're going to be doing some particularly big deals this year, possibly bigger than we ever have before. And that, again, just levels up all the knowledge within the business, which ends up being translated back into the content that we can put out. So as well as it being a big year for numbers, I think it's going to be a big year for the podcast and for YouTube as well. Because I think the insights that we're going to be spotting and generating and being able to bring to you are going to be stronger than ever before.
And of course, we'll be investing in the areas that we've highlighted in our hotspots episode we put out just over a week ago. Go and listen to that if you haven't. But we are loving areas like Manchester, Leeds, Derby, Nottingham, all these areas and others that we'll be invested in this year. So geographically, there's a really good spread. So we're really getting to see what is happening across the market. And of course, all our clients of Property Hub Invest will be able to take advantage of those deals. So we're very excited to be bringing those deals to them. If you would like to see those deals as well, check out propertyhub.net/invest. That is the business we are talking about today.
Yeah, it's mad. I think there is a bit of a disconnect sometimes between the podcast and the business. And most people who listen to the podcast don't really understand what the business is. We start talking about this other thing with really big numbers, and it kind of sounds like we're making it up because it's just like, what's this got to do with the podcast? But it is real. And the reason I think most people don't know about it is that it's a niche service. It's only ever going to be applicable to a small proportion of the audience. But if you're in that segment of the audience and what you want matches what we do, then it can be great. So propertyhub.net/invest is the place to go to remove some of the mystery around what this business is.
Well, you talk about our ideal client, Rob, and our ideal client, or one of the types of ideal clients that we found really love what we do, is people that are overseas because they have the cash to invest, but they don't have the time or the resource because they are overseas to invest in the UK. So they love a service like Property Hub Invest. However, other than allowing them to work with us, we've not really done anything for our investors overseas. So I'm very, very excited, because I'm going, that we are now going international. We're not selling international property, it's UK property, but just going to our investors who are overseas and allowing them to invest in UK property. And we are starting with Dubai. And it's actually coming up very, very soon. We're going in February. Yes, February this year. So if you are in Dubai and you'd like to go to our first ever international event, well, go to propertyhub.net/Dubai. It's a tough ask, Rob, but I've put my hand up for that one.
Yeah, very good of you to do that. And how long have we been talking about this for? We've been talking about going out to Dubai for literally years.
Oh, yeah.
Finally making it happen. So that's awesome. Propertyhub.net/Dubai is the place to go for that one. But Rob, the key to doing all these things, from the events to the content to acquiring the properties to everything else, is the team. And I think a big reason for having the year that we had last year was that we started incentivizing the team in the right way. And tied in with that, giving the team the power and the ability and the insights that they needed to really help us to achieve the result we wanted. So maybe you can explain that a little bit.
Absolutely. We've talked about open book management on the podcast before and the great game of business. If you are a business owner, I'd strongly recommend you read that book. It's brilliant. But what the book says is show all your numbers to all your people. Now, it sounds easy to do, but emotionally it's really tough. And we've been in business for a long, long time. And it's only last year we've done it for the first year. Rob, I said this on AOB last year. I feel like we found the secret sauce to business by doing this. I wish we'd done it sooner. By giving everybody access to the numbers, and I mean anyone in our business can go and see exactly where we are at revenue, exactly where we are with profit at any point on any day. All the numbers are there. By allowing them to see what our numbers are, and more importantly, how they can impact those numbers, it's resulted in a very, very strong year, as we've said. And we've rewarded that because we introduced off the back of that a profit share, which I'm very pleased to say we paid out on last year. And we've now given options to people, which means that they have the ability to get equity in the business in the future as well. So we've not just given out profit, and we're going to do that every single year. We hit our numbers. So hopefully we'll be doing another big payout this year. But we're also giving equity. So if there's any exit event in the future, they can take advantage of it. They, being our wonderful team, can take advantage of it and be rewarded as well. So it's great, Rob. It doesn't feel like you're giving something away. It doesn't feel like you're losing something. It feels like you're gaining something, because suddenly you've got a team of people who've got the same interests and the same motives as you. I'm sure everyone wanted Property Hub to do well, but when you put money on the line and you say, here are the numbers, please improve them, it makes a wild difference to the business.
It does. For the sake of time, I won't go off on a big thing about it, but it's true. It was transformational, and I was surprised at how quickly that transformation happened. I thought it would take at least a year to really bed it in. I thought there'd be a lot more pain around it, to be honest, because it is a big adjustment, but straight away, people just got it. And yeah, it changed everything. So the team is performing better than ever. The team is also growing. Like we said, we don't need to double the size of our business in order to double the profit because of the way the business works, but we are going to be growing the team, and we're going to be moving to a bigger and better office in Manchester this year, because the one we're in now is nice, but it's getting a bit cozy already. So if you're interested in joining that team, very important to bookmark propertyhub.net/jobs, because we've got some roles on there now. And there is at least one very exciting, very special role that's going to be going on there pretty soon. So keep checking back propertyhub.net/jobs if you've got any interest at all, because there's some really interesting stuff coming up.
Yeah, and if you dart to that page now, you will see some roles live. But as Rob said, bookmark the page, because over the next few weeks, more roles will appear. So if you see something that suits now, amazing. But if you don't see something that suits, do come back in a week or two and have a look again. So Rob, I think we better get to it. We've got a lot to do this year. For people who want to follow along, well, Rob and I are not super active on social, if I'm being completely honest, but when we are active, it's either on Instagram or LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, just look for our names. That's Rob Dix or Rob Bence. Or you can go to Instagram and search the Rob Dix or Rob_Bence. So that's where we are. And of course, Property Hub is everywhere. So Property Hub UK, search for that on whatever social platform you use and you will find us. Rob, any other business?
No, let's get to work. And we're going to be back with any other business next month. And of course, we'll see you back on this feed for the Property Podcast next week. Until then, have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.